I'm Kent German, Senior Editor at CNET.com. Today we're taking a first look at the Samsung SGH A197. This is the new phone for AT&T's Go Phone service, so that's AT&T's prepaid or pay-as-you-go service. The prepaid service does tend to offer different selection of phones than the full AT&T lineup, and they tend to be a little lower end like this. This is a phone pretty much about making calls, doesn't do a lot more beyond that. Does have a VGA camera, so it's not megapixel, so photo quality is not going to be great at all, but can take photos. Does have a speakerphone, of course, personal organizer, so really basic options. The design, of course, also is very simple. Just have a flip phone form factor in all black. Pretty tiny external display. It is monochrome, but it is monochrome. It does show all the information you need, though, like the date, time, the battery life, though. Text is just small, so you want to keep that in mind. If you want to see big text on the phone, you really want to test this out first. On the one side, we have a volume rocker. It's pretty big. It's pretty easy to use when you're on a call. And over on this side, we have a combined headset jack and volume rocker. It does use the micro USB standard, so that is becoming the standard for chargers, not necessarily for headsets. So we don't really like combined ports like this, even on a basic phone. It means you can only use one peripheral at a time. Phone is plastic. It's very light in the hand, so certainly doesn't feel sturdy. I wouldn't say it feels cheap necessarily, but it is a phone you'd want to be careful using. You wouldn't want to drop it a lot. You want to make sure it's in your pocket and not bang it around. So just keep that in mind. The hinge does feel sturdy enough. Opened up. And it opened and closed, didn't feel loose or anything. Inside, you have a very simple internal display, not the greatest resolution. It is full color, but it isn't going to show great graphics or colors. Also found it a tiny bit small for the phone's overall size. Moving down to the navigation controls and keypad, they have an okay design. The navigation toggle is circular. It's raised slightly above the surface of the phone. Inside, there's an OK button, but when the phone is in standby mode, pressing that button will take you directly to the web browser instead of the menu. We like it better when it takes you to the menu because it's something I certainly access more than a web browser, particularly on a phone like this. So one complaint I have about the navigation controls. There are two soft keys. There's a dedicated camera shutter. There's also a button that will take you to AT&T Mobile Care, the talk and end power buttons, and a clear key. Keypad buttons, they're mostly flat with the surface of the phone. Big enough though, and I thought the number on the buttons was sort of big. But again, if you're looking for a phone that feels nice and big in the hand and has big text and big numbers, you're going to want to avoid this, or at the very least check it out first and make sure it's okay. Keys are flat. I didn't have any problems dialing though. I felt like it was pretty easy to use. Just of course the keypads does have a bit of a cheap feel. If you're going to be a real frequent texter, I would probably avoid this phone as well, because I can imagine that if you're going to be sending a bunch of messages each day, day in and day out for several months, it's probably going to wear out, I would think. Features are very simple, as I mentioned. You can make calls, you can send messages, you can take photos with that VGA camera. It does have Bluetooth and a personal organizer and a speakerphone. Beyond that, though, you're not going to find a lot. This is really a phone for making calls, and at that, it's a phone for making calls very infrequently. If you are a Go Phone user that's going to be using the phone a lot, I would probably recommend passing on this phone. But if you just need something to make calls once in a while and emergencies, then it's not a bad option. I'm Kent German, and this is a first look at the Samsung SGH A197.
Hey folks, Brian Cooley from CNET.com. Now when we check the performance of a piece of tech, we check the performance of a piece of tech. If you love videos of cars and all their high-tech and high-performance glory, check out the CNET CarTech video podcast, cnet.com/CarTechTV.